now the defenders of the stronghold of democracy and of equal opportunity.
You and I, as citizens, have the obligation to shape the debates of our time, not only with the votes we cast, but with the voices we lift.
The people are looking for honest answers, not easy answers.
The very word secrecy is repugnant.
Clear leadership.
And we are, as a people,
not false claims and evasiveness and politics as usual.
Opposed to secret societies.
As a people, we cannot afford to let any group of citizens or any individual citizen live or labor under conditions which are injurious to the commonwealth.
Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, men, women, folks with disabilities, all pledging allegiance under the same proud flag to this big, bold country that we love. That's what I see. That's the America I know.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
Welcome to the Aggressive Progressive Podcast. I am your host, Chris Hahn. I'm at Christopher Hahn on X, Christopher Hahn NY on Instagram, and ChristopherHahn.com. All right, what is he up to now? Let's talk. So the Chief Justice rebuked the president on Tuesday. The president, who we talked about, ignored a judicial order and then called for the judge that issued that order to be impeached. Now, Roberts said disagreements with a judge is not a reason for an impeachment. That's what appeals are for. Nice for him to stand up for law and order. Would have been better if he would have avoided, giving presidents basically unlimited power in one of his other decisions. But I do appreciate him standing up for the judicial branch. Stephen Miller, I don't want to be mean, but like Stephen Miller and Donald Trump and a lot of people around him seem to be working through issues that they should be working out in therapy, and they shouldn't be taking it out on the entire country, right? We should not, as Americans, have to deal with the fact that Stephen Miller clearly had a rough time, I think, in his life. I don't know how. I don't know for sure. But that kind of anger that he displays on a regular basis is not something that normal people have. And I got to tell you, I've been working on those issues myself, right? I've worked on myself a lot over the last, 10 years, 15 years. I see it, again, I'm not running for president, or I'm not, a special advisor to the president. So when I see Stephen Miller giving an interview and yelling and screaming and being very angry in his response, when the courts, he's trying to say, he loves to make straw man arguments, right? And you're going to hear this about, the act that the Trump administration is using, that was signed by Adams, by the way, in like 1798. I think it's called the Alien Enemies Act. I could have that wrong, but I think I'm right. He points out that there's nothing in that act that says it's subject to judicial review. That is a straw man argument, because all acts, all laws are subject to judicial review. That is what the judicial branch is. We have checks and we have balances, and we have three co-equal branches of government. And yes, I get it. The congressional branch, the legislative branch, has basically abdicated their authority to the executive branch. And by the way, it's not just now. It has been slowly happening probably since World War II. But it is very clear to me, particularly when Republicans are in power and they control the Congress, that they are completely willing to roll over and play dead for the president. Go ahead, Mr. President, do whatever you want. First of all, To suggest that there is a war going on, Mr. Miller, suggests that Congress would have declared war, because that is a power that only Congress has. The president cannot declare war on anyone. So what the president is doing is more akin to police work. And police work does not qualify under the Alien Enemies Act. You understand what I'm saying here? So, I get it. They designated this group a terrorist. And again, I'm not defending the group. I don't even know. I'm sure there's some people in that group that are dangerous and should be expelled from this country. I get it. But there are probably some people in that group that just were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and maybe, got drunk one night and got a tattoo they shouldn't have got. Right? There's probably some of that there. And that's what the court was trying to figure out. And that's what the courts are for. So, yes, I see Scott Jennings tweeting that this is an 80-20 issue. Scott Jennings, by the way, who does my act, the act that I perfected on Fox News. He does my act on CNN, the lonely voice of opposition. I get it. I game respected. And it is an 80-20 issue. I think everybody wants to get rid of dangerous criminals. But doesn't everybody want law and order too? Doesn't everybody want justice? Aren't we supposed to know better? Are we going to just allow them to lump everything together? And again, I just wonder what he's distracting us from. Right? Is he distracting us from the economy? Probably, because the economy's falling apart. Things haven't gotten better economically. Things are getting worse every day. Every day there's bad economic news, and Trump doesn't want us talking about it. So he does this, and it works every single time. I go for it, you go for it, the media goes for it, and here we are. I am your host, Chris Hahn. I'm at Christopher Hahn on X, Christopher Hahn NY on Instagram, and ChristopherHahn.com. Those are my socials. Watch me on News Nation. And of course, if you're not like right now watching me on YouTube, because some people who are hearing this are actually watching me do it too. I'm at The Aggressive Progressive on YouTube, and I put up stuff just about every day. And the Aggressive Progressive podcast audio version is available wherever you get your podcast. New episodes every Tuesday. You don't want to miss that either. So, yes, the economy is getting worse and worse every day. And Donald Trump is distracting us every single day with something else. Today's new distraction, or maybe it's not. Maybe we're going to figure this out. His horrible handling of foreign policy. Remember how Donald Trump said on day one he was going to end the war in Ukraine? Remember that? Oh, it's day 58. And looks like he's caving to Putin. Putin is saying that he will cease bombing electric infrastructure in Ukraine in exchange for foreign countries to stop giving aid to Ukraine, including intelligence. So that doesn't seem like a deal that anybody should take. Looks like there's going to be a prisoner exchange. We'll see how that goes. In addition to his failure to, being rolled, let me be very clear. Being rolled by Putin, his good friend, being rolled. And I don't really see much pushback from him on this. If you think that that's a good deal, I really want to negotiate. Like, you want to buy my car? I really want to negotiate with you. Just hit me up. If you think that a short-term pause in striking electric infrastructure or energy infrastructure in Ukraine is worth Ukraine giving up all military support from foreign countries and all intelligence sharing with foreign countries, you seriously, I got a bridge. It's beautiful, and I'd love to sell it to you. Give me a call. In addition to that, the very fragile truce in Gaza, between Gaza and between the Palestinians and Israel, or between Hamas and Israel, I should say, is now gone. Hamas was breaking it for months. Israel had gotten tired of it, and hostilities have begun again. And there are still hostages, hopefully alive, being held by Hamas. Now, Hamas needs to turn over those hostages. And it does appear that Saudi Arabia and other Arab nations want to get involved in rebuilding Gaza. But one of the preconditions is Hamas needs to no longer be in control of Gaza. Seems like a pretty important, condition to me that should be worked out. But again, I know it's complicated. I know that Middle East peace has eluded, every president for like 50 years now. More than 50 years, probably 70 years. But Donald Trump said it would be so easy. It'd be so easy. I'm going to get this all worked out so easy. Well, Joe Biden, by the way, working with Trump's people, left Donald Trump a peace deal. And that peace has held until now. So not only did Donald Trump not solve the problem to begin with, he wasn't even able to keep the problem from resurfacing. And you might be saying, well, Chris, Hamas has broken it. Yeah, they did. But didn't Donald Trump say that they'd be afraid to break it with him in charge? That was what I remember him saying. I remember him saying, they never would have done any of this if I was in power. They never would have done any of this if I was in power. Well, you're in power right now. You're the president of the United States. Hamas was breaking the truce for weeks. You did nothing to resolve it. And Israel now has gone back into Gaza. So what are we going to do now, Mr. President? What are you going to try to distract us with? I mean, I think that last night when he said he wasn't going to abide by the pardons that Joe Biden gave because they were done with an auto pen was a distraction from this, maybe from the fact that he knew he wasn't going to get the deal he wanted from Putin. I don't know what he was distracting us from, but this seems pretty big, and that seems pretty ridiculous. He doesn't get to determine whether or not Joe Biden pardoned these people or not. The use of the auto pen is very common in politics. I worked for a senator. Auto pen is used all the time. Should Joe Biden have used the auto pen for a pardon? No, but he was pardoning about 20 people. So you got to expect that, maybe he didn't want to get carpal tunnel. He's an old guy. I get it. He's trying to say that Joe Biden didn't even know who he was pardoning. By the way, what else he did was he removed Secret Service protection from Biden's kids. I just like, he's an evil guy. Let's be clear what's going on here. It's mean. Maybe evil's the wrong word, but mean for sure. Cruel. And cruelty is what he is all about. And if you're cheering these things on, that, people who have been, Hunter Biden, who, I don't think he's an exemplary citizen, but you don't think that he's a target of some people, particularly people on the extreme right? And he's a target mostly because Donald Trump made him a target, and now he's taking away his protection. You don't think that's cruel? That's pretty freaking cruel. You might be cheering it. That makes you cruel too, is what I'm saying. We shouldn't want anyone to be in danger. We shouldn't want anyone to be hurt. That's what's going on here. Cruelty has always been the point in Trump land. And if you don't see that, I look, you do see it. If you're paying attention at all, you understand there's cruelty going on here. Cruelty towards immigrants, cruelty towards trans people, cruelty towards political opponents, cruelty towards poor people, people who need. It's there. You either care or you don't. I think as Americans, we should always care, and cruelty should never be part of our politics. I'm going to remind you now, as I always do, to seek the truth. Question everyone and everything, even me. Seek the truth. I know it's out there, and I know you'll find it if you look for it. And I'll be back here again real soon to tell you the truth as I see it. I'm Chris Hahn. Thanks for joining me on the Aggressive Progressive Podcast.